Hey everybody, Gisele Grenier here. In this video, I'm going to be working on another Crazy Bird project, and I'm going to be painting this on a stone. So I haven't received any complaints about me wearing the headset with the AC on, other than the audio is a little bit higher. Sorry. So hopefully this will be okay for you. All right, on the table, super simple project. So I've got some stones here, and I already started with the gesso, but I just want to show you about, if you've never done it before, how to prime it. We're going to be using the Decor Media gesso, and the paint is the Decor Media Fluid Acrylics Titanium White, Quinacridone Magenta, and Ultramarine Blue to paint the sky, and then we'll work with the opposite colors to paint the Crazy Bird. I might bring in a couple of other colors as well. So let's just work with this. So the stone, basically, you scrub it and wash it with scrub it and wash it. I'm talking fast because I want these to be under 15 minutes. So scrub it while washing in warm soapy water, as hot as you can stand it, and then rinse really well and let air dry. And then all you're going to do is just with the gesso and a damp brush apply a thin layer. Now the gesso, it helps prepare the surface to receive paint, and also the paint won't flick off. It won't flake off. Flick off? What the heck was that? Polite swear word. Flick off. Okay. So when you put a couple of layers on, the more it'll be more opaque. So if you're working on something super light, then you may want to put a few layers of gesso on, just so none of the darkness of the stones shows up. Oh, good English. All right, so with that brush, I'm going to take some white, and I'm going to take a little bit of blue, and let me bring the palette over. You can't see what I'm doing. So I'm going to start with dark at the top, and I'm going to work down, and I want to do it this way. I want to get a more of a purple sky. Let's get that in there. That's not too bad. Let's get a bit more blue up here. All right, so I'm going to get most of that paint out of the brush, go in the dirty brush and go into white, and I want to bring in just enough color to create a nice gradation. So I'm going to start here and work it this way, and you may need a couple of coats of paint. Go up a little bit higher, then go into the darker mix, and then just work down here a little bit. I can pick up a little bit more blue right in the brush. So it depends on how much of a gradation you want. It's also called ombre. I can go really dark up here. Just as long as you're working wet on wet, you're going to be fine. More white here, but don't worry about having the perfect gradation. If you're constantly working for perfection, you'll never get things done. And then just on the side, and ideally the sides you want to let this dry, then flip it over, then paint the sides. Some of you may want to put like a border and then just finish the back with another color, which is also totally fine. I like taking a little bit of light that's in my brush, which makes it look like there's little clouds in there. Don't worry too much about that. Acrylics dry a little bit darker, so just keep that in mind when you're preparing your colors. There we go. And I have a little bit of inconsistencies in the stone, which I'm not going to worry about. All right, rinse the brush. So now that has to dry. So the idea that I have now with what worked with the blue is for the Crazy Bird, I'm going to need a bristle brush. And I'm just going to quickly just show you the technique. What I'm going for is loading a small bristle brush, and going with this type of technique. Okay, it's pounce, 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 pounce. And then going into a little bit of white, pounce, 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 and then you get all this fluffy stuff. So with these Crazy Birds, the way that I like to, or Kooky birds, is the more layers of different values, the more realistic they look. So you can do this so many different ways. And just get a little bit of that fuzziness around there. So that's really what we're looking for. Then you can just change the shape. If you want them more round, just make the outside a little bit more round. It's completely up to you. So if I take my pencil, so I'm thinking with what I want to do here is I want to make his eyes stand out. So if I go like this, and I go like this, and then I'm going to make it like that. And I can make him look down. Now, this is handy if you're going to put another stone. And then his body, I'm going to make it like this. And then his feet over a wire or something. I can, like that. That's what I'm going for. Something like that. And then, let's go up here. And then over there. Like that. Okay, so that's what I'm kind of going for. And then this will be outlined here. Make these any way you want. I was going to use buttons on this, but and then just going to bring that out a little bit more. Then you can put another one if you had another stone and put it here. Then you can glue the stones onto boards. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so I'm going to go with gesso for the white for this part here because I don't want it to be too fluid. The beauty with these paints is that they're all intermixable. Clean that off. Alright, so I'm going to take my quinacridone magenta, and yes, I could paint this for, actually, yeah, it might be a good idea. Let's sketch that first. Might be nice. I'm looking at something like that. So I'm going to paint. If I cover the eyes, I'm not worried about it because I can always overpaint with the white. So I'm going to start off with the dark color. I hope you guys can't see. I think I want that a little bit more vibrant on the outside. I want the outside to be darker. This is the smallest bristle brush I have. I want the outside to be darker, and then get rid of the excess. Go into a little bit of white, dirty brush, and then I'm just going to go into a little bit in the middle while it's still wet. Pounce, pounce, pounce. And what it's doing is it's blending into the paint, but it's not creating that harsh edge. Then go into a little bit more white, and then ideally if the brush was a little bit smaller would be nicer. Then go just more in the center. So you can see it's getting darker, lighter, lighter, lighter. And then I'm gonna, let's see if I can go to a tiny little brush. I'm just gonna get another clean one. Then into pure white. Get rid of the excess and just, I think I'm gonna have to wait for that to be a little bit drier. There we go, like that. Let's blend that out a little bit. Okay, so it has a nice little highlight. So that takes care of that. And then you obviously let it dry. I'm going to take the gesso and I'm going to paint the eyes. Yeah, this is going to take a couple of layers just to make it opaque. Now you could also, if you had collage paper, you could collage this as well. But you really want to make this kooky. Don't go for something that's perfect, because that's not the point of the Kooky Crazy Bird. Oops, this is just a little too wonky there. Alrighty. Let me paint the feet. I don't need to wait for the body to dry to paint the feet. Burnt umber. And, whoops, shake that. A speck of yellow oxide. I'm going to go with a tiny little brush. This is a script brush. And let's get the feet in there. And we'll just go around. And what I may do is actually just come in with some metallic paint in here. That actually sounds like a good idea. And with the yellow oxide on this side, which will be a little bit of a highlight, to get that placed. And let's go with a little bit of metallic paint. Should have did the metallic paint first. This was an afterthought. This is silver. So I'm just going to go like this and make it like the barbed wire. I did a piece on my channel as well where I did the stencil with the barbed wire, which was really nice. Just like that. Nothing too crazy. It's about the bird, not about the wire. You can also just draw it with a pigment liner if you want, but if you're putting this outside, make sure that you seal it. And I did the eyes in the wrong order, wrong way. The white goes over this one. Alright, so let's just outline. Nice and slow, so I'm not going to talk while doing this. One of the downfalls of working with a script liner is that you lose a little bit of that control. I hate working with script brushes. Ooh, bang on. Bang on. Okay, let me get a bit more blue in there. You know what? I'm not even going to try that. I'm going to dip. Dip into the paint. Oh, I wonder. Hang on a second. Let's try this. Let's try this. Let's try with a Q-tip. Let's try. I'm going to make up a bit more paint. And yeah, it doesn't go completely round. It's these fancy Q-tips I got at Shoppers Drug Mart. They are super soft. Yeah, I'm going to have to use the brush. Oh well, it was a nice thought. It was a nice thought. Could use the end of the paintbrush as well. Problem with using the end of the paintbrush is that you get a blob of paint. This is okay. And I'm going to take yellow oxide. I may go into a darker... Oh, I should have waited on this. Not sure how opaque that's going to be. It's actually not bad. Let me grab a little bit more gesso. That's actually not bad. So just with the yellow oxide, and then I'll come in, put a little bit of a highlight on there, using very, very, very little paint. Now you should wait for this to dry. Like that. Let's just tilt that. I like that. And I think some of the rock is showing through. I'm going to come in and let me just tidy this up a little bit. And what you can do at this point is it's done. You can varnish it with Dura clear varnish, and that way it can go outside. But I would once you've painted the rock, I would let the rock sit for a good day, just to make sure that everything is cured. And I'm touching this up. The eyes are a little big. Thank you, Q-tips. Oh, look, now he's all crazy. Oh, he's a really Kooky bird now. Oh, poor little guy. Just by going back around. There we go. That looks a little bit better. Aw, the poor little guy. So, but you just, touch that and do it whatever way you want. So obviously the Q-tips, they're Quo, from Shoppers Drug Mart. And they didn't have any of the regular ones that I buy. So I had to buy these. Triple the price, but not for art, they're not the best. Not for how I use them. And what I'm going to do actually, I'm going to take a little bit of that white and I'm just going to put a little bit in here and take my finger and smush that just to strengthen that highlight a little bit. There we go. Just make it a little bit stronger. That yellow oxide really doesn't show up as well, does it? There we go. There we are. And then that's it. And then from here, all you need to do is, just, like I said, let it dry for a good day. Then if you're going to be putting it outside, give it, I would say, 2 to 3 light even coats of the Dura varnish, whatever finish you want. So if you're going to be putting these stones, to say, in your garden, I would use a gloss varnish because that way you can clean them easily. If you use an ultra matte varnish, because it's got a little bit of a, I wouldn't say like a cloudy finish, it's not going to be, the colors are not going to be as intense. So use whatever finish you want, but just make sure it's 2 to 3 light even coats. Follow the directions on the bottle for whatever brand you use, and just make sure you let each layer dry. You don't want to put a heavy layer of varnish because the top will be dry, the inside won't, and then nothing's going to work. I did do a little seascape on a rock, and I left it outside during the winter time, which had snow, and it's in perfect condition, which is nice. There you go. So my question to you is, have you ever painted on a rock before? I'm sliding off my chair. Have you ever painted a rock before, and what's your go-to supplies for painting the rocks when it comes to the paint and when it comes to the varnish? Let me know in the comments below, and that way we can all learn from each other, because a lot of you are all over the world and you don't have access to the materials I do, so it's great to hear from others on what they're using. Alrighty, so thank you very much for being with me. I'm gonna fall off my chair. Thank you very much for being with me. So I'm going to clean up and plant myself back on my chair, get ready for the next project. So until I see you then, stay inspired.